Chapter 1, Section 2, Orders of Operation. Here we go. Order of operations. Here we go. So if you look over here, this is everything you're learning for this lesson. That's all it is, right? Too easy. But let's go over it. It does have some interesting things. So the way order of operations work, you start up here at the top, and you do this first, you do this second, do this third, do this fourth. And, let's say you get, down to here or multiplication and division, and then you have a grouping symbol. Well, then you start back up here and you go through it. So this stuff, the top, always takes priority over everything below it. And then the stuff down here at the bottom happens afterwards. Right? Too easy. So, we start with our grouping symbols. This is our parentheses, brackets, absolute values, things like that. Then we do our exponents and roots. After that, we do multiplication and division. Note, left from right. So if you want to be super smart on social media, they always have those stupid math problems that test your ability to do order of operation. The left from right is where a lot of people get tripped up. And then addition and subtraction, again, left from right. So let's do a couple of these, see what it actually looks like. So here on number 1, first things first, we see our grouping symbol. So we're going to do that first. So I'm going to bring the 29 down, not touching it, not moving in it. And then we're going to do everything inside of the grouping symbol first. So you'll notice that inside of this grouping symbol, we've got an exponent. So I'm not going to touch the 11. We're just going to do the exponent. So 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So we've got 8. And then we're outside of the bracket, outside of the parentheses. So we'll go ahead and do the 6 squared, which is going to be 36. And we'll leave the divided by 4 for now. Okay, so that's our first step. Our second step, again, everything in the parentheses happens first. So we're not going to touch the 29 just yet, but 11 minus 8 is 3. So that's kind of like inside the parentheses, but I'm going to get rid of those. Don't need them anymore. Plus, we can also do this, 36 divided by 4. So 4 times 9 is going to be 36. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. Okay, so then we can combine these two. At this point, it doesn't matter whether you combine the first two or the second two or combine all of them in one foul swoop. It doesn't matter, but just to show everything, we're going to combine these two. So 29 minus 3 is going to be 26 plus 9, and then we combine the last two, equals 35. How exciting. Okay, so here's our next one. We got some exponents. We got an absolute value, which is fun, and some multiplication and division. So here we go. So we're going to start with our grouping symbol. That is our absolute value. Our absolute value is a grouping symbol. So we're going to bring that 8 down. So the absolute value of negative 8 is just positive 8. So we're going to bring that down. And then while we're at it, we can go ahead and do our exponent as well. So 4 times 4 is 16. Times 4 again is going to be 64. So we'll bring down the 64. And we still have this minus sign right there that we haven't done anything with. So that minus sign comes down. And we're just going to pull the rest of it down. Not do anything with it this step. Okay, next step, you go left to right with multiplication and division. Here's where a lot of people make mistakes. They see this number and they just do 64 minus 8, and then they multiply it by 6 and divide it by 16. That's not how it works. You got to do the multiplication and division first. So that's the part that we're going to start with. So we're going to do 8 times 6 So we still have that negative sign, 48. 8 times 6 is 48. Bring the 16 down. Bring the 64 down. Okay, next step, let's take care of 48 divided by 16. So then 48 divided by 16, 16 goes into 48 3 times. Now notice that I did not do anything with that minus sign, I just brought it down. Make sure you don't drop minus signs, that's also another common mistake. So then 64 minus 3 equals 61. Circle it, there's your answer. How exciting. So here we go, number 3. It's super fun because now we're dealing with like a fraction. So the way this is written is this number is being divided by the entire numerator. So that's important as we kind of piece this thing out. We don't accidentally do this number by only one number. Okay, so let's clean this up and let's do it. So let's start on the top because we've got an absolute value and then we've got some parentheses. So we're going to start inside of the parentheses. That's this number right here. So 10 minus 12. So 10 minus 12 is actually negative 2, but this is the absolute value, which means we drop the negative sign. So that means we are just going to bring, what is that? Negative 2. So that's going to be a positive 2. So I'm going to write a 2 right here. And the 7 we're not going to touch this time either. Okay, so we took care of that part. We're still inside the parenthesis. 5 squared is 25. And then all of that is still divided by 9 minus 2 squared. We can go ahead and do that because it's an exponent. So 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. So there we go. Another way to think about it is you can kind of put parentheses there and then parentheses there. If that helps you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. So let's move off to the right so we can do the inside here. So 2 plus 25 is 5, 6, 7. So we've got 27. That 7 is still there. And then the 9 minus 4. Again, you can do that one now. You can do that one later. It doesn't really matter. So we'll just go ahead and do it now. 9 minus 4 is what, 3? No. 5. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, totally knew that. I was just testing you. Okay, so then we've got 7 minus 27. So those negative signs kind of get a little weird, but we're going to end up with a negative 20 over 5, which then simplifies to negative 4. And there's your answer. Too easy, right? So this next one is kind of goofy looking. Having a divided by symbol underneath a fraction is very, very uncommon. You won't see that in normal nomenclature, but it's kind of a good exercise to see if you're paying attention or not. So let's do it. Step 1, I'm going to do all the grouping. So there's a grouping right there. Within that grouping, we have an exponent. So we'll do that one first. So we've got 2 minus 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9. So we've got 9. So I'm not touching anything else with that one. This is kind of another grouping symbol, the square root of 81. Square root of 81 is 9. If you don't believe me, use your calculator. Again, that's kind of another grouping symbol, so that's why we're going to do that one. So then underneath the denominator, we can kind of set this up. We can either put a grouping symbol right there, if that kind of helps you conceptualize a little bit. It helps me because then I can just, okay, inside of this grouping, what should I do? So inside of that grouping, we've got a 6 divided by 3, so we're going to do that first. So then we've got 10. 6 divided by 3 is 2, right? 10 minus 2. And I'm just going to put parentheses in there because it makes me happy. I'm not changing anything. It just helps my brain a little bit. Okay, so our next step, we'll go down that way. Let's see here. So we've got a grouping symbol here. So 2 minus 9, 10, 9, 8, 7. So we've got 7 squared plus 9. We're not going to do anything with a 9 yet. And then 10 minus 2 inside of a grouping symbol is 8. Okay, so we'll go up there. 7 squared, 7 times 7 is 49. Plus 9 over 8. Didn't touch anything else. So again, if you wanted to include grouping symbols, you could do grouping symbols up here and there. That's totally fine. So that means that we'll do this part first right there. So 49 plus 9 is 58 divided by 8, which we can reduce that. I'm not good at basic arithmetic, so I know that we can pull a 2 out of that. So let's see, it's going to be a 4 on the bottom, and then 2. So let's see, if I put the 2 in the 8, that's going to be 4 with a 5. So is that going to be 29? Yeah, so 2 times 29, 2 times 2 is 4. That's going to give me that number right there. And then, well, it's going to be 1 less than that number. Then 2 times 9 is 18. It'll give me the 5 and the 8. So I have to double check my mental math like that because I'm not very good at it. And here is our answer. Ta-da! All right, we've got a lot going on with this example. We've got multiple different layers of grouping. So we've got our absolute value here. We've got a parenthesis right there, and we've actually got a square bracket, which is just another version of a parenthesis. But we use the square brackets just to differentiate when we have multiple things like this. So let's start from the inside and work our way out. So inside of this absolute value, we got -6 plus 2. So 2 minus 6 is another way to think about that. So I'm going to rewrite this whole thing. Absolute value. So that's going to be -4. Oh no. Plus, we can probably go ahead and take care of that guy. Square root of 9 is going to be 3. Then we have our square brackets over the whole thing. That is squared. Okay, and this bottom part, I again kind of like to put parentheses around there. It just makes my brain categorize them a little bit better. You don't have to, it's up to you. But 3 cubed, we can do that. So down here, we've got 3 minus 3 cubed. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. Okay, so that's our first step. So then, we're still not going to touch this 15 yet. We can do the absolute value there. So that's going to be 4 plus 3. Got our square brackets, and all that is squared. And then down here, we can do 3 minus 27, which is a negative 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 24. Yes, I'm super bad at basic arithmetic. Get over it. Okay, so then our next step, we are coming up here. We've got 4 plus 3 inside of our parentheses. So again, I'll keep my square brackets just so you can see what I'm doing. Minus 4 plus 3 is 7 squared over negative 24. Okay, so then we take, let's see here, 15 minus 7 is 8, right? So that's 8, and then 8 squared. Okay, so now we're going to have 64 over negative 24, and then that can be reduced. I don't know, let's just pull a 2 out. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2. So I've got 12 over 32, which can be further reduced. Again, I just like to divide by 2 is the thing that I do. So let's see here, 30 times 2, I'm sorry, 15 times 2 is 30. So 16 times 2 is going to be 32. And then pull the 2 out of 12, so that's 6. Can pull another 2 out of it. So then that's going to be 8 over 3. And that, so I dropped that negative sign. It's a very common mistake. Don't drop your negative signs. I did move it up to the top there, but your answer still needs to be negative. So it's a great mistake that you saw me just make. Don't drop your negative signs. Another good one to see if you're paying attention. Again, start with your grouping, work your way out. So our first grouping, we've got 9 minus 15. So let's see here, 9. So 15 minus 9 would be negative 6. So we've got negative 6. That guy's still squared from that dude. Multiplied. Inside this, we've got a exponent, so we're going to do our exponent first. So 7 minus 4. And again, if you wanted to put parentheses around this whole thing, that would be just fine, just to differentiate it from that last part. So we're going to do everything in this fraction first before we come out here and deal with that guy. So square root of 49, what is that? 7 times 7 is 49. So we got 7 plus 5. And I'm going to try really hard not to drop anything out of this equation. Okay, so let's keep going. We can deal with that guy. 6 times 6 is 36, or negative 6 times negative 6 is still positive 36. So we've got 36 multiplied by 7 minus 4, which is 3, over 7 plus 5, 12? Sure. I'll take it. Minus absolute value of negative 5. We can deal with this absolute value right now. Let's do that. So that's just going to be 5, because the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. So that's how we got the minus 5. We've got two negative signs. Normally, minus a negative sign would be a positive, but that absolute value makes this guy drop, and we have this one left over. Okay, so 36 times 3. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to do that in my head. I did it with a calculator. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So all of that's going to equal 108 over 12 minus 5. Now you can't combine these two until they're either both whole numbers or they're both fractions with the same denominator. But you can take this thing, and again, I would just, like, first thing, I would just shove it into my calculator and see what happens. So that turns into 9. So 9 times 12 is 108. So then we've got 9 minus 5, which that equals 4, which is the answer. Okay, this is the last example that I'm going to do of plugging things in. Like I said, you guys can do the examples, the other examples. All you're doing, take this, plug it into there. So let's do it. So m equals 2. So I'm just going to keep my absolute values. 10 times 2 minus 8n squared. N is -3. -3 squared. And all of that is an absolute value. Absolute values are kind of like parentheses, so we're going to do everything in there first. So inside of here, we've got 10 times 2. So we've got 20 minus, we're going to do this part first, 8 times 9. And I just put parentheses in here just to remind myself that there's a multiplication there that I need to deal with. So 8 times 9 is 72. So again, we've got 20 minus 72. So then we're just doing basic arithmetic. -52. And then since it's an absolute value, our actual answer is +52. Bam. Okay, so here we're at number 15. We are simplifying the expression. So you will do this hundreds and hundreds of times in this class. So here we go, simplifying expressions. So we've got a 16x minus 11 minus 7x plus 10. I'm just gonna kind of do my normal process. It seems a little absurd at first, but when you have 3 x's, 4 y's, x squareds, and a bunch of other stuff, it starts to make sense. So I'm going to underline all of my x's, and then my regular numbers, I'm just going to use a squiggly line underneath them. Okay, so that triggers my brain like, oh, those are the things that I need to combine. So you are combining like terms. So you've got a 16x minus 17x. So if you would want to rewrite this, I'll do it the long way this time. If you want to rewrite this, we could do 16x minus 7x, and put those in a little parenthesis just for funsies. Plus, and then we'll do our other ones, -11, and I'm just going to keep them in order. Okay, so then we can simplify that. So this guy turns into 9x plus a -1, which would typically be rewritten as just 9x minus 1. So this is your answer. So when you're doing this yourself, you don't necessarily need to write this step out if you don't want to. I'm a very visual person. I like to write out some of those steps, and that's fine. But, I usually know what you did if you're combining like terms. So number 16, we've got some ends going on. Well, we got some parentheses. So this is what I was talking about earlier, the property of distribution. So we need to distribute that 2 to both of those numbers before we move on. So we'll do that. 13 plus, so 2 times 3n is going to be 6n. And then 2 times -7 is going to be minus 14 plus 19n. So here I'm going to underline my n's. I'm going to squiggly line my regular numbers. So then 6n plus 19n is what, 25n plus my normal numbers is 13 minus 14. So that would be a -1, which clean that up, 25n minus 1. Done. Oh no, there are 2 different variables. We can do it. Same process, we're just adding more letters. No big deal. So we've got a y and a y. We've got a z and a z. So we'll combine the y's, -15y's plus 1y. So we've got -14y's, and then -7z plus a +9z. Let's see here, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be 2z. That's it. So these last two I'm going to let you guys try yourselves. Again, you're just distributing this 3. Don't forget about your negative sign to distribute that as well. And same thing over here. You're going to distribute that -3 to both numbers, distribute the -8 to both numbers, and you'll be good to go. You can do it. I have faith in you. I'll see you in class.